Please don't miss this video, because in this tutorial you will learn how to enhance your renders in Enscape. Let's get to work. Alright, I'm gonna start my job with the textures. As you can see, I create these textures from the Enscape online material library, and this is the thing that we have in here with the high level of details about displacement and roughness. So I'm gonna fix my camera shot. So I'm going to click on the visual setting and view management, click on the camera DX11. So right now we will start our rendering. I'm going to click on the save frame in here and change my visual setting from the high quality rendering to the ultra quality rendering. Right now I can see my job much better. So field of view is the first step for the rendering. So I'm going to type 63 degree for my field of view. I want to have these flower leaves in here. After that, I will turn off the auto exposure and click on the atmosphere. So sun brightness is a little bit too high for my job. I can reduce it very simple and easy from here. I prefer to use some type of sun brightness about maybe 10 or 8%. I prefer to use 10%. Night sky brightness is not useful. Shadow sharpness can be decreased to the soft shadows. Artificial light brightness, right now we don't have any spotlight or other things like that, but you can reduce it or increase it. I prefer to increase it to the 118%, and ambient brightness related to the interior lighting and shadowing. As you can see, when I decrease ambient brightness, our interior design will get much darker. So right now I'm going to test it out. If I decrease it, you can see what will happen in your job. And when I increase it, GI calculation will be added to your interior lighting. A little bit, some type of hyperlight in your area will be generated for you. 68% is good in here. The fog is not really important. In the skybox, I will change it to the white cubes and turn off the density, variety, size amount, and count rails in my job. As you can see now, our environment much darker than the past. How we can fix it out? We can use some other type of source, for example, white ground or clear. It completely depends on you. I prefer to use clear source for my HDRI. In the output, I will change it to the Ultra HD in the resolution, but in the final step, so I will come back to the image bar in here and turn on the auto contrast and come back to the main bar and increase the exposure, something like this, some number about 53%. I will turn on the depth of field, turn off the autofocus and play with the focal point. I want to focus on these flower, vase, table and flower in the left side. So I can hold my focal point in some number about maybe 4.94, and the depth of field, if I increase it, the blur will be increased for me, but some normal number about 13% is really good. In the image bar, I can increase the saturation to create better render view. Some number about 112% is good. If you want some warm render, you must decrease color temperature, and you have some red channel on your render right now. But if you want some cold render, you can increase color temperature to invert this position. 5600 Kelvin is good. Effect is 0. About the motion blur, lens flare can be increased. So if I increase the bloom option, something like that, in this part of my job I have some shiny gold metal reflection. So when I increase the lens flare, this effect will be increasing my render shot. 71% is good, but bloom can be reduced to the 6% because I need some sharp render. Vignette related to this part of my area and shot, and I prefer to use some type of high value vignette, something like that, to create artistic renders. 44% is good, and chromatic aberration is 0. Till now, we set out our rendering setting, and if you want to save this type of setting for all of your renders, you can click on these arrow in the left side on the visual setting, and we have some 3 points dots in here. I'm going to click on it and save as file on my desktop, for example. For example, interior rendering setting, and press save. After that, in all of your renders, if you want to set these type of sunlight, these type of exposure and other things, you can upload it in your visual setting from here, called create preset, or something which is called, I think, imports. Yes. So I'm going to close it in here. I have some work with these lights, so I will come back to the SketchUp environment, click on the Enscape material editor, and check out the deep pink in this place. You can see these 3 equal circles in this part of my job. I'm going to click on the deep pink and change the type of it to the self-illuminate and increase the illumination as I can to some number about 44,000 candela per meter. My main color for the light balance in the albedo is the wheat color, and for the main color of lighting is the creamy or wheat color too. You can increase the intensity of it to some type of yellow lighting, something like that, and it can affect your main lighting in the screen. Roughness not really useful in this type of lighting, but you can decrease it to the 41%, and specular can be increased to the 67. Next material is the Abisco. So I'm going to click on the Abisco and change the type of it to the self-illuminate again. Now we have this part of the job like that. So I prefer to increase it a little bit, something like this, for example. Some number about 32,000 candela per meter. My main color for this type of my job is something near to the brown and red, or I can change the main channel of it to the yellow, and something like that is really wonderful. If you want to take another copy of these exact color, you can select these type of RGB code color in here, Control C, come back to the color albedo, advance, and Control V, and press enter. Now you have same colors in your lighting and your shots. So I can convert it to the a little bit much yellow and warm color like that, something like this, and take another copy of this code in the albedo color. It helps you to manage your lighting much better. Roughness is not really important. Specular can be increased to the 77%. And about these plaster and construct, I have some changes. First of all, construct in here related to all of my walls. I will decrease the height map of it because I need some type of smooth surface. 68% is acceptable. Roughness can be decreased for better reflection and lighting. So I will decrease the roughness some number between 30 and 45%. I prefer to use 36%. Some type of reflections like that is really useful. And plaster. I want to decrease the plaster's normal intensity. 174 is acceptable. Something like that. And roughness is good. About the wood chevron in the floor, as you can see, we have more reflection. If I increase the roughness, these reflection will be faded out. So be careful about it. Always try to use some good normal of the reflection on your surfaces. Something about maybe 14.6% is good because I need some faded reflection. But it's a little bit too brown for me. I want to use my color and tint color for my job. So for this purpose, I'm going to decrease the image fade something lower than maybe 77, something about 67%, for example. But now we don't have the main texture. So hold it in some type of decayed number about 78% or 86%. If you want to add some more tint color, you can use some type of color like this, but I prefer to use white color. Everything is good for me, and now I think time for the rendering. So I'm gonna come back to the SketchUp environment, take some small changes in my job. For example, something about this can be good. I want to add some type of plaster cuts in my wall for better details. It really helps me in my 3D realistic visualization. And change it to this place. You can see these sides in here. And I'm going to click on the colors, sample paint, pick this light up, and add it to these edges. Something like that. It's really effective in your shots and your renders. So I will come back to the Enscape another time, visual setting. So if I turn on the auto exposure, now we have automatic lighting. And you can reduce or increase the type of your light very simple and easy. I prefer to check out the auto exposure and reduce my normal exposure lower than 50%. I can add some outlines to create some simple graphical render. In the image bar, I can reset the color temperature or some number about 5800 is good. And final step in the atmosphere related to the sun brightness. I prefer to turn it off to see what happened. Something like that will happen, but I don't know, maybe it's a little bit too dark. Comment your opinion about your tasteful rendering. Are you a person who likes some bright renders or dark renders? So I think 4% or maybe 1% like that can be good. 6%. And ambient brightness 59, and I only change my resolution to the Ultra HD and click on the screenshot, and now I want to save this job. So I can focus on this work much better, so I can reduce the field of view, something like that, about 57. And if I want to change the sun angle, I can hold Ctrl U and I and change it, maybe something like that, something like this, for example. And I want to move this small flower vase a little bit to the right side, so I'm going to select it and move it to the right side, something like that. And time for the rendering. I'm going to click on the screenshot and save it on my desktop, for example.